Maybe for the beginning, could you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Judit Angel, and I'm the curator of the Small Billboard program.
My name is Zuzana Reveszová and I'm a sociologist.
Okay, perfect. And now, Judit, please, could you tell us how did you came to the topic of the exhibition?
Well, there was a private need in the sense that I am an outsider to the Bratislava art scene. I am based in Hungary, and I started to work here 2.5 years ago, and I wanted to know better the art scene. So I started 1 year ago to interview around 50 actors, artists, curators, and other cultural agents, and I found interesting the results of these interviews. So I felt a need to map to further mapping, and I was somehow I won't say inspired, but challenged by an image, a recurrent image which came back from my first interviews, which was that when I asked the people what they would like to change maybe in the Bratislava art scene, then very frequently the image of fragmentation in small groups of close friend circles came up, and this was felt like an enclosure. And then the question for me was that why the fragmentation of the art scene, which is otherwise a normal phenomenon, which is part of the social network, but in fact we can, according to network theory, we can say that this is the way our work is constructed. In spite of this, it felt like a negative aspect and as an enclosure. So I was not sure if this is real or it is just a haunting image in the mind of the people, and somehow I wanted to know more about. So that's why I was thinking of a project which can bring further this mapping, and that's why I invited Zuzana, who is a sociologist, to do together an online questionnaire, and on the online questionnaire relating to the group dynamics of the Bratislava art scene, and which results were analyzed by Zuzana and also turned into infographics by Katarina Balashikova, graphic designer, and they are a framework in on the walls of the transit space, which is one of the spaces of this project, but they are also a framework for the whole project. And a further step was in this publication, where we added a questionnaire conceived by Lucia Gavulova with around 20 selected actors of the art scene, which were who were asked about the positive and negative facets of living in the local art scene, and also what they would like to change if they can. And this is also a further framework for the project. And then the second as important motivation was to trying to do something proactive, even if I'm realistically thinking that of course a project cannot change too much, but maybe can open up some or uncover some aspects, or even facilitate some new connections and contacts. So I invited around 20-something artists, curators and researchers, from which in the end we arrived to 16 projects. And they were also invited to invite other people in their turn if they wanted. And I, as a curator, offered the participants 4 concepts, one being that of friendship, then of collaboration outside of one circle and one discipline. Third was encounter as a change element of existence, and then sharing. Sharing as a kind of reorganizing of interpersonal relationships along a collective dimension. And in the end, all these aspects were somehow structurally built in the project, but not so much thematized, because the artists or the participants came up with other topics which were incorporated in the small big word general topic. And in the end, I have the feeling that the conceptual structural tissue of the project is dense, like a network, in which there are some nodal points where some meanings overlap.
OK, Zuzana, teda otázka na teba. Mohla by si nám možno nejako priblížiť alebo povedať, ako to vlastne funguje z pohľadu sociológie, také vytváranie týchto skupín, začínanie sa do skupín?
The question was to explain the creation of groups and incorporation in the groups. Okay. I'll begin with the theory of Barabashi, which is also framing this exhibition very much.
Well, the beauty of network science that it talks about all the networks in parallel, not only social networks. When we talk about social networks, you know, many of the general characteristics of networks apply to them. So when it comes to social networks, what network science provided us is a way to talk about the network aspect of it. We always talked about the society, you know, sociology has been focused on the society as large. But network science provided the language to talk about how do we think about interactions? What is the meaning of the interaction? What is the purpose of the interaction? How does the very fact that there are interactions between the individuals in the society contribute to its ability to function?
The way how networks work in connection with some important hubs. There are some people, some spaces, some actors, which can be material but also human, that attract certain people with similar interests and make them come and integrate in this group. That is why some of the people, some of those who you can recognize here in this art scene are considered to be attractive or have good information, can lead you in some way, can be somehow important for this group dynamics, and those are those who lead it. But there can be also spaces that are working like that. There can be institutions like schools that have this environment that link through the relations of teachers and professors and students, or the gallery like Transit is trying to be a place that attracts, or a cafe. It can be something like that. Or it can be an old factory like Zuzana. In this case, there are similar people who are creating circles around these actors. I think that would be the way how Barabashi would explain it in this case.
Vrátim sa vlastne k tomu, čo sme sa už pred natáčaním vlastne rozprávali, a to je to fungovanie scény v tom zmysle, že vlastne ako keby nefunguje. Nefunguje v tom, že predsa len tu existujú tie skupiny umelcov, ktoré ako keby komunikujú medzi sebou v malých skupinkách, ale nekomunikujú medzi sebou v tom širšom meradle. Vlastne z pohľadu sociológie, prečo je to tak, ak sa to dá vôbec povedať?
The artists are working in small groups and not one big scene. Why is it like that? There is one thing that I wouldn't say it's wrong that it's working like that. It is like that. I don't have these normative expectations that art scene will be like one united. I don't even think that there is some situation like that. I think that it works to more or less extent how much people are interconnected, and I don't think that you would see like one art scene in New York if you want to have a cosmopolitan city. But the thing that people here perceive, that they feel that there is a lot of anxiety from one group to another one, that may be perceived as negative, that they feel that this is not good, that they don't feel comfortable being an artist in this city. And that I can say, which can be a problem. And I think that there might be several explanations, like one which says there's not one common uniting moment. There's many opportunities of how to become artists. People come to Bratislava because they studied here, but also because they studied somewhere else, or they just come to professionalize. There's many galleries that attract people, so there is not one kind of base that would say, hey, you all, by the identity of artists, you are all here and I will take care of you. And there is no common enemy, as we discussed before, that maybe if there was some oppression, people would unite as those oppressed, and the artists would have this identity of the oppressed people who are fighting for their common interests. But also, there might be some peripheral moment that they foresee, that there is these friend circles, as Judit mentioned, that can be very much connected to the private sphere. That as the art scene is not recognized officially and from the society that it is a respected element of our shared culture, then people kind of tended to go to their private lives and have their friend circles do the artwork instead of being publicly open and bold to speak for the society, speak for the people, be kind of voice of the nation or be the voice of the city. I think that these friend circles are very much privatized, and that's why they're so detached to these different corners.
Yeah, thank you for nice answer. And you did, let's go back to the exhibition. Would you pick some projects which we can see at the exhibition, which are from your point of view, which will succeed in this connecting people?
Well, yes, it can be. There were some, how to say, really successful connections, but I would like just to add that it was also important not only to connect, because this was not so expressly focused, but also to open up, what I said before. So if one project was more mapping-like or research-based, let's say, but it opened up some unknown, or okay, it's not unknown, but overlooked state of affairs or category or whatever, then this is still is also a positive aspect. So maybe I would invert, so I would talk a little bit about the uncoverings. So, well, one example is Andrea Kalinova's video in which she interviews this kind of professional exhibition goers, which in Slovak, how to say, slang language are understood called vinamushka. So these people who are vernissage goers, and we learn about, it's only 4 people who answered, but I understood from this that they are really professional exhibition goers, and they don't go there because of the drink and of the food, but because I mean, this is also part, but they have this kind of network-based information system where vernissage is, and this is a lifestyle and somehow is a way of socializing, but not always maybe with members of the art scene, but maybe among themselves. But sometimes they also socialize with members of the art scene, so they somehow are this kind of, in the end, they could be maybe equated with so-called category of art lover. So it is. So we learn something more about them.
Buď mi niekto povie, alebo si poviem na internete, pokiaľ je dostupný internet a je to tam, tak áno, a keď nie, tak zase druhý majú známosti, alebo niekde nejaké plagaty sú, alebo tlačí, to bývajú. Keď som niekde v nejakom inom meste a pozriem sa, tam väčšinou sú nejaké plagaty polepené, tak prosím pero a napíšem si, že čo je.
Well, it is the project of a band who were invited as artists, but they decided not to deliver an art work or let's say truly art project, but a curatorial project. So they curated an exhibition in Galeria Hit, which is an international exhibition where there are artists from Slovakia, from Czech Republic, from Germany, from Netherlands, and from the United States. And they also had a screening in Cinema Mladost of a big Libera film. So the whole exhibition, as I view it, is constructed around the connection between art, cognitive science, science and art, philosophy, and some visions of the future. So it's very, very close structured, but it's opening art into more interdisciplinary direction. So I would maybe stop the mapping in this mapping and opening in this way, and then in the category of connecting people, I would mention, let's say, Jana Kapelova's project, which even if it is for a very small category for parents and children and from the art world, so this was not a project for a big audience. It was very nice and I think it was felt, how to say, positively by the participants. Most of them mothers with small children, artists who, when you are an artist mother, you have completely other life and maybe it's much less time for creation, for socializing, exchanging in professional, but not only professional, but educational, whatever information. And it will it happened one time in 1st of June and will happen next week. And if the participants would need, we could continue with it. And another project was last week. It was Eliška Mazanova's project with in collaboration with Jan Gralovic, and it was about it's called Circles and Clouds, and it is about actors of the art scene who did events in their private apartment, and the inquiry is about how they arrived from a close circle of friends to whom they invited first in their apartment, in the end somehow to get known by a wider public, and how it happened. And the research is going back to before 89 and to the present day, so and is also trying to compare. And last time there were invited Rudolf Sikora and David Todt and Mira Gaberova and you, Peter. So it's like putting all together older and younger generation. And then it was the project of Martinka Bobikova and Oscar de Carmen, which took place in Café Berlinka for 1 week, from Monday to Friday, and it was a kind of menda, like for workers, for working people, where you could get a free lunch if you registered in, like, confirming that you are an artist or part of the art scene. So even so anybody could go there, but had to sign that it's part of the art scene. And then this project was about food sharing, of course, but it was also meant to be a means of socializing and somehow a kind of indirect critic on the status of the artist somehow, because it meant it is a bit ironic that the artist is, or the so-called artist is getting a free lunch, like in a kind of benefactory action or whatever. But I think mostly the socializing aspect was more important, which it had a quite high attendance. In some cases I would remark that maybe this mixing of the public, not in all senses, was, in my opinion, completely successful, but it was, the potential was created, so in the end I think it was fulfilling, its premises.
I think you supported these weak ties, which was actually the point of research, but if you just bring people to one space, maybe they just don't start talking immediately, but they start to recognize each other. Ah, you've been in the same book as me. And then this is it. This is how you do it. So in this sense, it was successful maybe for the long-term perspective.
Yes, exactly. So maybe hopefully and I forgot to say that this project with the private apartment is also supposed to continue. And maybe some of the results of the project would make sense later. I think so, maybe.
In my point of view, the intervention was also this room full of statistics, because the statistic is kind of a tool. For me, statistics, it's just an image. It's not like the fact, it's an image. It's also very much an illustration or something. So for me, putting infographics around people who are kind of part of those can be a mirror in which they can look and say, oh, this is us, is it us? And try to question and think about it. How much are we really defined by these terms? How much this can also tell something about our lives, our careers, and how much we can maybe learn and inspire ourselves for the future. So, of course, not like there's no immediate establishment of an online journal bilingual now, but maybe someone will see this video and do it immediately after that, or in 2 or 3 years someone will remember it was this exhibition and maybe some students and so on. So I think it's good that it creates these questions and gives opportunity to think about it.
So yes, and I think for the visitor this could be a difficulty to perceive a project in totality, because this is also time-based and in many places, and how we'll put it together. And just a short parallel would be with Manifesta in Zurich, which is completely project-based, and the new works were created in 3 parts. It was a collaboration between artists and some professionals from Zurich. And the result of collaboration is a work of art, or part of the project in the White Cube, another in the workplace of the host, being a teacher, a butcher or a policeman or whoever. And then a third part is a film of each project, which is projected in a pavilion on the lake of Zurich. And the film is showing how the encounter between the artist and the host took place. So, and you can, in my opinion, it's not so exciting to see only one part. It's better to see whole, or at least 2 from the 3. So, in this case, it could be a difficulty for the visitor to perceive it together, but we were thinking of this, and this was a calculated step to make a website. So, we have this small big WordNet website where you can see, together all the projects and the conception, and also this library, which is the library of the project. So I think that the website is gathering together all the events, and yes, and it was also the project made by you in your private club, this party where you invited the participants of the project to have a common ground of interaction. Now, this was even not seen by the public, but we can see here the photographs and the short audio text about. But it's probably, so it has 2 sides. So it was one for us and the other for the visitor. So I think that to conclude is that I think the visitor is a little bit, can have some very quick touches of these infographics and some of the projects, but in order to understand it, has to make an effort and at least to go on the website.
Okay, and then at the end, is there something what you would like to add to the, or what do you think that you can like?
Oh, well, I am trying to think of the lessons of this project, which is still not completely closed because in 2 weeks we will have a finissage, and I'm looking forward to really discuss what is the experience and what we can learn from this. And I am thinking a lot about what especially positive conclusions I can how to say bring out, and one of them, so in two aspects reinforced my intuition that I think transit in the future will need to more strongly focus on bringing international, very high-level professional input in this. I think this would be important. Secondly, I got some positive feedback regarding this interdisciplinary platform, art center, whatever. And now in the this last week and this week we already started with some representatives of the Art Academy and also Faculty of Architecture from Technical University, and maybe Zuzana will help us in getting some good contacts in sociology department to unite somehow the, I mean, not the students, but the, the potentiality of teachers who would like to, who would be interested in some interdisciplinary program, and then try to combine audience for lectures and for workshops. So these are just 2 ideas, but I hope that there will be many other learning. And yeah, anyway, I think it makes sense to do it, and yeah, so it will help doing my and our